We're going to do some color correction and show you the difference between CMYK and RGB, and also show you how to do some adjustment layers. This first slide is an attribution to Sunny's photography, and the link. And I got this off of Flickr, and I want to make sure this person gets the proper attribution. We're going to start with this rose, and I just have this dull rose that we want to pump up the color. Look at all these menus. I'm going to go up here. Let's move up here in frame and go to the workspace. Up here is the workspace. I'm just going to say reset essentials. Puts all the panels back. And now what I'm going to do is drag layers out by grabbing the word layers. Open it up a little bit so you can see. Here's the thumbnail. The other thing we're going to need in this lesson is adjustments, which is here. But if you don't see it, you can always find it under here. It's check marked because, see, it disappeared because I unchecked it. But if you don't see it, just hit the check mark and it usually appears over here, and you can pull that down there. What we have to do is select the petals. So we're going to use the fourth tool down, which is quick select. It's best to use a hard edge brush, 100% hardness, and a small brush. I'm going to use a 10 pixel brush. It usually defaults to the add to selection, see the little plus, but if you're sharing a computer, you might want to double check that. Also, you want auto enhance checked. Again, if you're sharing a computer, you might want to check that, because if you don't, you're going to get a rough edge. I'm going to start out by in the picture plane, and I'm on this layer, in the picture plane. Why is that bouncing? How irritating. Skip. I guess I'm installing something. Hang on. There we go. So I'm going to select some of the pink, and then I want to tell Photoshop not to select any of the background. So the nice thing about this tool is you can hold down the Option key on a Mac or the Command key on a PC, and it's hard to see the little minus sign because the brush is so small, but if you look up here, if I let go of the Option key, it'll go back to the plus. So I'm going to hold down the Option key and say to Photoshop, don't select any of this stuff outside the rows. This only works on the quick select tool as far as I know, but it's kind of a cool feature. And now I'm going to go back and select the rows, because I told Photoshop, once I let go of the Option key, I told Photoshop not to select any of that other stuff. It isn't perfect, but that's okay. This isn't a Photoshop class per se. It's a digital color theory class. So here are my different options, and I'm just going to stick with Hue Saturation, which is the first adjustment layer on the second row screen left. Notice it brought up what's called a layer mask in the shape of the rose. I'm going to click back on the icon for the adjustment, and my properties panel popped out to give me the option of sliders. So I must have gamut warning on, which is something I want to show you. I'm going to really pump up the saturation and maybe change the color. I think that there's a rose that looks like that called American Beauty. And then I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to select the background. I could just, oops, I'm on the wrong layer. Oops, I need to go back to the rose layer, and I'm going to select the background. And undo. Command D, deselect, select, deselect. There we go. So I think I'll do what I showed you in the other one. I'll select some of the background, some of the leaf, and then I'll go around the rows and hold down the Option key and say, don't select this. Oh, my auto update is jumping around again. Well, forget it. I'm going to ignore it if you can. And I'm going to now select anything that isn't the rose. There we go. There's the background. It's okay that we get the green of the rose because they're so similar in color. When I color correct, that is really annoying. Quit. There we go. And there. So now we have the background selected. Again, I'm going to use Hue Saturation. I have to get a new one for the background. It's going to be a different layer mask as well. See, it's everything but the rose. Now I'm going to go in here, and instead of changing the color, I'm going to hit colorize so I can tint it. And then I'm going to change the color. Wow, that's a really bright green. I'm going to bring down the lightness a little bit. So now I've got this beautiful rose. It's in RGB, red, green, blue color space, which is additive color made with light. And I'm going to have to, this is going to have to be printed. Needless to say, the resolution should be 300, but we're not, that isn't that this lesson. But if you view gamut warning, because you don't want to go back and forth between CMYK, this is not printable in 4-color press. Now, if you go into 5-color and spot color, maybe, and it gets pretty expensive. So I'm going to turn off gamut warning. I'm going to do a save as, and I'm going to call this Rose RGB Karen.psd, save. And so it's titled. You'll see the titles up there. Now I'm going to go to image, the drop down at the top. The first one is mode. I'm going to change it to CMYK. It's going to say flatten, because if it can't flatten, it'll go back to the original. It can't support those color correction layers. So I'm going to say flatten, okay. Now I'm going to do another save as, because we want to compare. I'm going to save as, I'm going to go in here, click in here, change this to CMYK, Karen.psd, save. Now, if I go to view this time in gamut warning, nothing happens. It's cool. It's changed the colors. In order to compare, the last thing we're going to do is go to File, Open Recent. Does it have it in there? No, I guess I'm just going to have to go to Open. I have a lot of things in here, so I want to bring up the RGB Karen Rose. Okay, don't worry about all these things. And we've got CMYK and RGB. So I'm going to go to Window, Arrange, Tile Vertical. I want them to both be, I'm going to go on to the Rose RGB, which I'm on. See, it's at 100%. I'm going to change that 100%. I'm going to highlight it and change it to 50%. And then I'm going to change this one to 50%. Down at the bottom left. I'm going to go to my Essentials panel and reset Essentials so everything's out of the way. Now, I'm going to grab this. Look at the difference in color. See, it wants to re-put them together. I'm going to go to 70. Maybe that would help. And then I'm going to arrange two up vertically. And this one should also be 70, so we can really see can you see the difference? This is the RGB. The green is very bright. There's more color in here. And when you go to gamut warning, not so good. Go over here to gamut warning. Perfect. It'll print and it'll look like that. Sometimes you can live with the change that CMYK makes, and sometimes you can't. Cyan, magenta, yellow, and black is what it stands for. It's called Subtractive Color, and it's used in inks and dyes and print. So there's that lesson. Thank you.